Let us start this module with the aim to abreast the readers with the information related to the various bodies and schemes initiated in the direction of environment protection. The Indian Constitution clearly holds the state responsible to preserve and ameliorate the environment and to conserve the wildlife and forestry of the country. It imposes an onus on every Indian citizen to preserve and ameliorate the natural environment, including forest, lakes, rivers, and wildlife. Environment has also been referred to in the directive principles of state policy and in the fundamental rights. The Department of Environment was constituted in India in 1980 to certify a healthy environment for the country. This afterwards became the Ministry of Environment and Forest in 1985. The Ministry of Environment and Forest is especially concerned with the application of policies and programs related to the preservation of the country's natural resources, including rivers and lakes, its forest, biodiversity and wildlife, certifying the welfare of animals and control and prevention of pollution. The major goals of the Ministry of Environment and Forest are conservation of flora, fauna, forest and wildlife, prevention and abatement of pollution, afforestation and regeneration of degraded fields, certifying the welfare of animals and protecting the environment. These objectives are backed by a handful of legislative and regulatory measures to preserve, conserve and protect the environment. Besides the legislative measures, a national conservation strategy and policy statement on environment and development in 1992, National Forest Policy 1988, a policy statement on abatement of pollution 1992 and a National Environment Policy 2006 has also been derived. The Environment Protection Act, which is also known as EPA 1986, originated soon after the Bhopal gas tragedy. Environment Protection Act is considered to be a composite legislation as it fills many gaps in the existent laws. After some time, many laws came into enforcement as the problem began escalating. For example, the Chemical Accidents, Emergency Planning, Preparedness and Response Rules 1996. The Environment Protection Act was enacted with the goal to protect and improve the environment. It authorizes the central government to constitute authorities under Section 3(3) charged with the mandate of impeding environmental pollution in its very form and to tackle environmental issues that are specific to various sections of the country. This act was later amended in 1991. After studying this module, you shall be able to know about the existing Indian framework to protect its environment, understand the regulatory mechanism, comprehend various schemes introduced towards the aim of environment protection, know about the recent steps undertaken by the Indian government in this field. Let us look into the existing framework of environment protection. The below mentioned framework exists for environmental preservation, protection and sustainable development, which is clearly mentioned in the rules, regulations and program of MOEF. First, the National Environment Policy. The MOEF has affirmed a comprehensive National Environment Policy, that is NEP 2006, based on overarching guiding principles that include, among others, right to development, environmental protection as an intrinsic part of the development process, environmental standard setting, the precautionary principle and polluter pay principle, preventive action, economic efficiency and equity. For prevention of pollution in general and air quality management in particular, various actions have been suggested which inter alia include an integrated approach to strengthening of regulation and enforcement of emission standards for both point and non-point sources, preparation of action strategies for cities to address air pollution, promotion of research and development, formulation of national strategy for urban transport and energy conservation. The National Environment Policy 2006 exhibits the following key principles. First, Human inhabitants are at the center of sustainable development concerns. Human inhabitants are at the center of the issues for sustainable development. Human beings should get a productive and healthy life in harmony with nature. Second, the right to development. The right to development ought to be fulfilled so that the developmental and environmental needs of the existing and coming generations be met. Third, environmental protection is an inherent part of the development process. For sustainable development, environmental protection must be an inherent part of the development process. It cannot be considered separately from it. Fourth, the precautionary approach. Where there is credible threat of fatal or irreversible damage to key environmental resources, lack of full scientific certainty ought not to be used as a rationale for postponing cost-effective measures to avert environmental degradation. Fifth, economic efficiency. Economic efficiency will be sought to be achieved in various public actions for environmental preservation. This principle requires that the services of environmental resources be given the economic value and such value to be counted equally with the economic values of other goods and services in the analysis of alternative stream of action. Other policies. The Policy Statement for Abatement of Pollution 1992 and the National Conservation Strategy and the Policy Statement on Environment and Development 1992 accentuates pollution abatement and encouragement of cleaner technologies to reduce industrial pollutants. The National Water Policy 2002 comprehends provisions for developing, preserving, sustainable utilization and management of significant water resources and the requirement to be managed by national perspectives. The major reason of land degradation are implicit and explicit subsidies for water, fertilizer, power and pesticides. Grazing lands are usually common property resources and due to the non-ample empowerment of local institutions for their management, biomass base gets overexploited. The absence of effective policies and persistence of certain regulatory practices leads to the reduction in people's incentives for afforestation and leads to reduced levels of green cover. Now we shall discuss the regulatory mechanism. The present legislative framework is mainly contained in the Composite Environment Protection Act of 1986, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1974, the Water Cess Act of 1977 and the Air Prevention and Control Pollution Act of 1981. The law related to the regulation of forest and biodiversity is contained in the Indian Forest Act 1927, the Forest Conservation Act of 1980, the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 and the Biodiversity Act of 2002. The Environment Protection Act empowers the government to determine national standards for ambient environmental quality and regulating discharges, to monitor industrial locations, to state procedure for hazardous substance management and to collect the disseminate information related to the environmental pollution. The Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974 deals exhaustively with water issues. It entrusts the government to constitute pollution control boards to cultivate the beneficence of national water bodies. It gives a consent strategy to control and prevent water pollution and entrusts the state boards to regulate compliance. Water Cess Act of 1977 was affirmed to give more strength to the Pollution Control Board financially to encourage water conservation. The Act entitles the central government to levy a cess on the water abstracted from the natural resources by the industrial and local authorities. The undermentioned rules under the Environment Protection Act of 1986 further complement the provision under the Act. The Environment Protection Rules 1986, the Manufacture, Storage and Import of Hazardous Chemical Rules 1989 amended 2000, the Manufacture, Use, Import, Export and Storage of Hazardous Microorganism, Genetically Engineered Organism or Cell Rules 1989, the Hazardous Waste Management and Handling Rules 1989 amended 2000-2003, the Chemical Accident Emergency Planning, Preparedness and Response Rules 1996, the Biomedical Waste Management and Handling Rule 1998 as amended 2000 and 2003, the Ozone Depleting Substance Regulation Control Rules of 2000. The review of the current regulatory framework throws some light on some deficiencies that might engender ineffective environmental planning and regulation. Cross-cutting nature of many issues, inter-ministerial jurisdiction and absence of unified authority to accord with environmental management for pollution sources hampers integrated planning and execution of standards. Now moving on to discuss the various schemes and programs. There are various centrally sponsored schemes undertaken for pollution abatement. The main aim of these schemes is to certify pollution prevention by using various measures like assessment and regulation of air and water quality, commencement of cleaner technologies for resource preservation, establishing common effluent treatment plant in cluster of small scale units, research and development, upgradation of laboratories, etc. The major scheme under this head is the constitution of Central Pollution Control Board, known as CPCB. Below are the mentioned some of the significant actions inaugurated under various schemes on pollution abatement. First, Central Pollution Control Board. Central Pollution Control Board, which is also known as CPCB of India, is a statutory organization under the Ministry of Environment and Forest. It was established in the year 1974 under the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1974. CPCB is also enjoying the powers under the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1981. CPCB technically assists the Ministry of Environment and Forest related to the provisions of Environment Protection Act of 1986. CPCB is also entrusted with the function of coordinating the actions of the state board by providing technical assistance and resolving conflicts among them. It works as a technical wing of the Ministry of Environment and Forest. The central government nominates the chairman who leads the board. Currently, the board is led by Shri Arun Kumar Mehta, who is an IAS. The head office of CPCB is in New Delhi. It has 7 zonal offices and 5 laboratories. The board carries out environmental assessment and research. It regulates the air and water quality and keeps respective quality information. It gives advice to the central government on the matters of preventing and controlling air and water pollution. It informs the governments of union territory regarding any pollution source causing water and air pollution. CPCB, together with state pollution control boards, is accountable for execution of the legislations concerning abatement and control of environmental pollution. The board consists of approximately 500 full-time employees, including engineers, scientists, and environmental protection specialists. Functions of CPCB. Functions of CPCB come under both national level and state board for the union territories. CPCB under the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974 and the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1981 aims to encourage cleanliness of wells and streams in various portions of the states by controlling and preventing water pollution and to ameliorate the quality of air and to control or prevent air pollution in the country. Air quality. CPCB runs nationwide program of better air quality monitoring known as National Air Quality Monitoring Program. The network is composed of 342 operating stations which covers 127 cities in 26 states and 4 union territories of the country. Under NAMP, 4 air pollutants with sulfur dioxide, oxides of nitrogen as NO2, suspended particulate matter, that is SPM, and respirable suspended particulate matter, that is RSPM, by PM10 have been identified for regular monitoring at all the locations. Regulating meteorological parameters like wind direction and the wind speed, relatively humidity and temperature were also amalgamated with the monitoring of air quality. This information on air quality is updated weekly at ITO. Water quality. Fresh water is an essential and finite resource for the use in industry, agriculture, propagation of wildlife and fisheries besides the human existence. India is a riverine country. In India, there are 14 major rivers, 44 medium-sized rivers and 55 minor rivers besides numerous ponds, lakes and wells which are the main source of drinking water. Rivers are highly dependent on the monsoon rain which caters to only 3 months a year. Due to this, most rivers run dry throughout the remaining period of the year, often carrying wastewater discharges from various types of industries or cities or towns. This endangers the quality of our scarce water resources. CPCB constituted a nationwide network of water quality monitoring in collaboration with concerned SPCBs or PCCs, which has been running 1019 stations in 27 states and 6 union territories. The Inland Water Quality Supervision Network operates under a three-tier program, that is Global Environment Monitoring System, that is GEMS, Monitoring of Indian National Aquatic Resource System, that is MINARS, and Yamuna Action Plan, known as YAP. Urban Area Programs Eco-City Program. CPCB programs designed for urban areas, also known as Eco-City Program, fall under the 10th plan to ameliorate the environment through execution of identified environmental improvement actions in specific towns and cities. Pilot studies carried out for urban areas by the Center for Spatial Environmental Planning, created at the CPCB under the World Bank funded Environmental Management Capacity Building Project and supported by the GTZ CPCB project under the Indo-German Bilateral Program. According to these studies, CPCB fosters an exhaustive urban improvement system by exercising practical, innovative and non-traditional solutions. Under the 10th plan, 15 crore rupees has been budgeted for the period 2002 to 2003 to 2006 and 7 for Eco-City projects. Municipal Solid Waste Rules. Every municipal authority comes under the Municipal Solid Waste Management and Handling Rules 2000, MSW Rules 2000, and is accountable for collecting, segregating, storing, transporting, processing and disposal of municipal solid. CPCB collects necessary information from municipal authorities and provides them with technical assistance. Noise pollution. According to SO 123E by Ministry of Environment and Forest, various sources like construction activity, industrial activity, generator sets, music systems, loudspeakers, vehicular horns and other mechanical devices majorly affects the human health. CPCB has the responsibility to monitor and control noise emitting source with the aim of regulating the ambient air quality standards. Environmental data statistics. CPCB regulates environmental data statistics in which air quality data and water quality data comes through. In the case of air quality data, it monitors the level of SO2, NO2, RSPM and SPM. CPCB measures and maintains water quality data too. Second is the industrial pollution abatement through preventive strategies. The scheme was discussed earlier is composed of three components: environmental audit, adoption of clean technology in small scale industries and environmental statistics. The scheme aims at assisting small scale industries in adoption of cleaner production practices and reducing waste generation. Under the above program, learning has been started in the area of preparing environmental audit statements in various sectors. Third is establishment of Environment Protection Authorities and Environment Commission and Tribunal. Authorities have been constituted as per the various orders of the Supreme Court for environmental compliance and enforcement of various activities under this program. Three authorities have been formed. First, National Environment Appellate Authority, which is also known as NEAA, under which National Environment Appellate Authority Act of 1977 to entertain appeals with respect to industries, operations or processes. Second, Loss of Ecology, Prevention and Payment of Comprehension Authority for the state of Tamil Nadu to tackle with the pollution emitted by the terraneries and other polluting emitting industries in Tamil Nadu. Third is Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority, that is EPCA, for the National Capital Region for compliance relating to environmental standards, emissions or discharge of pollutants, steps to control vehicular pollution, restriction of industries, etc. Fourth is Assistance for Abatement of Pollution and Environment Policy and Law. This scheme strengthens various state pollution control boards, that is SPCBs, and the State Environment Department to execute the statutory provisions for initiating pollution abatement measures, upgradation of facilities for analysis, capacity building, etc. Under the scheme, most of the state boards were given funds to help them strengthen the laboratories and taking up various research projects too. Fifth is clean technology. The goal of the scheme is to support the initiation of cleaner technology and cleaner production through establishing demonstration projects and initiation of relevant research and development activities. Some of the programs undertaken include life cycle assessment studies in certain sectors like pulp and paper, coal-based thermal power plants, carrying capacity studies in river basins, bioremediation of Raila Devi Lake, Maharashtra, and recycling of marble slurry waste in Rajasthan are some of the studies sponsored for clean technology. Sixth is creation of management structure for management substances. Under the scheme, the activities are conducted under three thrust areas, namely chemical safety, chemical accident prevention, and sound management of hazardous waste and municipal solid waste. The activities initiated accordingly include preparation of off-site emergency plans, establishment of emergency sponsor center, establishment of common treatment, storage and disposal facilities for industrial hazardous wastes, preparation of hazardous analysis report, etc. Seventh is environmental impact assessment. Environmental impact assessment is one of the important management tools for incorporating environmental concerns in the development projects at the planning stage. Environmental clearance has been made imperative since January 1994 and Ministry had undertaken re-engineering of environmental clearance process. A new notification on environmental impact assessment thereafter has been issued in September 2006, which replaces the earlier notification of 1994. Under the new notification, the development activities have been categorized into Category A and Category B on the basis of potential impacts rather than on the basis of investment criteria. During the last 2 years, large number of projects have been given environment clearance. Eighth is Common Effluent Treatment Plant, that is CETP. The goal of this scheme is to provide financial assistance to the small scale industries in cluster to establish or upgrade common effluent treatment plants for enabling them to abide by the environmental discharge standards. The funding pattern for CETP is as follows. State subsidy, 25% of the total project cost. Central subsidy, 25% of the total project cost. Entrepreneurs contribution, 20% of the project cost. And loan from financial institutions, 30% of the project cost. The program is spread all over the country and the funds from the center are routed through respective state pollution control boards. Lastly, Taj Protection Mission. In compliance with the orders of Supreme Court of September 1996, the Planning Commission estimated an amount of Rs 600 crores on a 50-50% center and state matching basis to execute various schemes related to the protection of Taj Mahal. In the first phase, 10 schemes were identified relating to uninterrupted power supply around Agra, augmentation of water supply, improvement of drainage, management of solid waste, etc. with an estimated cost of Rs 222.21 crores. The center has released its share of Rs 111 crores. A post-project evaluation study for the project executed under the scheme has been sponsored to NEERI, Nagpur. Let us now summarize what we have learned in this module. India has introduced many reforms from time to time in the direction of environmental protection. Many bodies have been constituted to help India in framing policies on how to conserve its natural resources and ameliorate the living conditions across various cities or states. India's Supreme Court has recently ordered the government to open a new institution based on the USA's Environmental Protection Agency aimed at addressing rising level of pollution across different parts of the country. The National Environment Appraisal and Monitoring Authority will decide where power stations, dams, mining operations and industrial units can be built. The new autonomous body could play an important role in protecting India's fast disappearing forest, reduce the spread of coal-fired power plants, and force businesses to engage better with local communities. It was first proposed in 2011, but the plan were not executed due to the Ministry of Environment and Forest reluctance to lose its powers. But the NEAMA will now be made operational soon.